Mind over matter, overcompensating, overstatements, crookedness relating, the soul's churn in return, mental overstimulation, one word, riveting, it terrors my pilot. Streams that are promised to make seeking less.
Sometimes it appears like oneself is distant, further exacerbated by the great escape. Thus, I have moments that I breathe in and out like I breathe, then wait. Allow the thoughts to ruminate. In those milliseconds, balance would find a way. Greetings, everyone. All my listeners out there, appreciate you for tuning in again to another episode. This is The Mad Poet. You are through to the Mad Poet podcast. Thanks so much for your support. As always, great to be here. Yeah, man, just thought to have a little something to share, a little bit, take you down the rabbit hole again, so to speak. Yes, it's been a great week, man. Been a great week. Just wanted to, for those who care, it has been a great week. I have been active, just doing as I do. Busy during the week, of course, but I did something that, I found it special. And that was sharing. I enjoy sharing for the generation to come. I had the chance to work in a college. Be precise, this college is West London College, and they had me as a guest. Me and another friend of mine, another poet, led a workshop, and it went well. And I was really appreciative of the resonating, the engagement with the people that we had. Well, these are college kids that we had the chance to really converse with and just share our premise, our thoughts. And the biggest message was the fact that words have power. And I think it was great to be there. It was great to have the opportunity, for sure. I'm a strong believer in the sense that, what's coming next. In this case, children, the future, I think they deserve to be prepared. And I suppose people have their own way of doing it. And my way, of course, being a writer and a poet, storyteller, I express it's the words are my thing. So I appreciate the chance to share. So I just want to say thank you to West London College and everybody that was involved. It was great being there, and I appreciate the time and the effort in having having us accommodated, you know. But it's not finished. I have another venture next week to do it again, so I'm looking forward to that for sure. So I just wanted to share that. But back to the piece for today. Um, the quote, if you will. Let me just go through it, and I will break down, I will explain, and just share with you my thoughts about, you know, and questions, always questions. Sometimes it appears like oneself is distant, further exacerbated like the great escape. Thus, I have moments that I breathe in and out like I breathe, then wait, allowing the thoughts to ruminate. And in those milliseconds, balance would find a way, though every day is not great as they say. So you make look, and all you see is a monster's face, looking like innate, for it was meant to be, as though madness has always been part of me, cultivating like a sickly tree, but perhaps something more simply. One could argue a mere product of my environment that knows how to speak. Mm. And it's funny, that line, this last line, just as I read it, that did hit me. If and I suppose it's just breaking it down in my head. And just to a disclaimer, I do have moments like these when I do read my own work, and you just have these moments where it hits you. And I guess, what happens is when you're writing it, you're just somewhat just going through the thought process, you're exploring as a mad poet, as I am, as a madman would, being a mad poet. You're just exploring the thought, and you're just allowing it to take you on a journey. And this is what I do. But so I suppose it's more of an introspective sort of uh, journey exploration. But when I take some time away and I go back and I have these times and I read, it's sort of um, it's sort of a greater hindsight, you could say, where I have more of a larger grasp, and and I suppose you could say a deeper understanding of where I was when I wrote it, so to speak. So it's interesting, and so there's a certain experience that comes with that. It sort of hits you differently, I suppose. You know. But yes, it definitely did have me thinking, and questions, right? Questions. So the first thing that came to my mind was, you know, and this is going, we're going somewhere. So let's start with this. How do you cope when the moment calls for calm? You know, Stick a pin. Are you the type to meet yourself where you are in that moment, that period, that situation, um, that stage of your life? There's so many different situational situationals that you're privy to where this moment speaks to you. And I wonder, how people meet these challenges or meet themselves. Are you the type to, leap hills and bounds and tell yourself, shout below to yourself, catch up with me. I think there's a lot of people in this world like that. There's a lot of people in this world like that. But yes, I would. I'm the type though. I'm the type to meet myself where I am. In fact, I try to do such a thing with, with people in general. And one of the main things I think it allows me to do is appreciate the human experience for one, but it also less judgmental. I'm not really I'm not really a person that judges per se, but I think when you meet somebody at where they are, you tend to be less judgmental. You just take it as it is, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Um, to go even further, to go even further than that, I try to do the same with artists. Um, Artists in general, or merely writers like myself. And of course, um, there is somewhat of hindsight because I do understand their plight, no doubt. But it's also a sort of premise that simply allow an artist to be a reflection of where they are on their journey, giving context and grace to beginners, where sort of giving them that grace to and allowing them to mature to somewhat realize greatness within themselves, of course, within themselves. But it's somewhat of an empathetic way of seeing things. You could argue, because if you're doing that for somebody else, then by right, you're most likely going to end up doing that for yourself. Again, going back to the human experience, you know, I think that's what makes it special. I think that's what makes it special, you know. As they say, we all have to start somewhere. We all have to start somewhere. Sometimes I do wonder, are we prone to become the monsters we create? Perhaps the ones we see, perhaps the ones we dream or conjure in forms of nightmares. Those are the type of monsters that comes to mind. Because as we know, they're not most of the time they're not always, most of the time they're not real. Most of the time they simply exist inside, at least inside our heads. You know, as you know, everything starts in the mind. But yes, of course, there's many facets to this, but I bring to mind environment environmental ones as well. The ones we see, the ones we experience. Um, Speaking of the external factor, speaking of the monsters that we come across on our travels, randomly, um, human beings, of course, there is something about that. And sometimes they leave such an impact, just like the ones that we conjure, meaning the ones that we create in our heads, or the ones that we have nightmares about. But what if that monster is closer than you think? You know, that's the real question. What if that monster is you? What if that monster is you? What would you do? Mm. Would you seek escapism? Isn't that the question? And let's be real, we all do one way or another. It appears to me that most people have tried in one way or another to run away from the darker side. Let's be real. Even myself, at some stage of my life, not so much now. Escapism comes to mind. It's one of the inspiring thoughts that made me create the quote I'm sharing today, which is, of course, part of a bigger, it's part of a bigger piece, you know. The whole piece, the actual piece is called Rolling with the Verses. A sort of play on the boxing saying, which is rolling with the punches. As you know, I'm a writer, so I can't roll with fists, can I? So I have to roll with these verses. So let's explore that premise in a way. How does one placate darkness and their own savagery, so to speak, just going into like a sort of Jekyll and Hyde situational. We all need to vent sometimes.
It's 18 hours.
This laptop of mine always messing about. Who do you turn to? What do you turn to? Therapy is not always the solution sometimes. It's recommended, but it's not always a solution. And we don't always, more times than not, we most likely will not want to go. But yes, of course, recommended for sure. But what if you already have the answer to what you seek, to the question you seek? Sometimes we know what to do, but we choose procrastinate. Procrastination is a killer that gains slow gains. It's always slow gains with procrastination. But at the same time, its increments are your demise or loss of chance that you may never get back. I think about things like this. My point is, there is so many ways in life that this premise plays a part in our lives. There's so many ways that this premise plays a part in our lives. And I suppose in a sense, we become the modern day magicians, where we somewhat, or well, let's start with the modern day magicians. All we want to do is disappear. All we want to do is escape. All we want to do is hide. Or you become the modern day Usain Bolt, where all you want to do is run. I think it's time for on holiday. You know, anything to not face that monster, that part of you, you know. And in essence, the real question is, can you afford to keep running from the face you're trying to hide? You know, that face that is you, or well, more times than not, it most likely it's going to be you. But in that time, it grows, it metastasizes inside. While it grows and metastasizes inside, I didn't mean to rhyme there, by the way. But you get the point. You get where I'm trying to go with this. You get where I'm trying to go with this. You know, it's such a peculiar thing. Such a peculiar thing. So as they say, um, head on forward is the way, is the only way, or is the right way. Rolling with the verses in a sense for myself. I speak about the many facets of my being, speaking about myself, like a madman being a mad poet. You know, there's two ways I do it. You know, I've always, it's always real honesty, and I just express as I know how to, candidly. Yes, logically, I tried my best to, you know, seek or consume information to make sure I do my best to stay logical and accurate with certain things that I throw into my work. But at the same times, there are certain things that I say, and a friend said to me the other day, it's like nobody, nobody, how did he put it? Nobody listens to the madman, you know, and that stuck with me. That truly stuck with me, and so as you know, the book I wrote is called Ramblings of a Madman, the poetry event, right? And it's just, I think that just simply just really just broke it down to the T of exactly where the mad poet came from. Well, part of it, part of it. But I just love that because it simply just sort of just brings you in to where I was going with this book. Nobody listens to the madman, even though he be talking, spitting honest, um, and some real stuff, you know. So, but that's neither here or there. Let me get back to what I was saying. I speak about the many facets of being like a madman, being a mad poet. However, in order to come to this come this far, I've had to find some semblance of madness in there for this to resonate, for this whole idea to resonate with me in the first place. Had to make peace with my insides, what's inside me, especially inside here, my head. Some refer to it as darkness. It's empowering in a way, which is what I'm getting at. Because it gives me the opportunity to explore without fear or judgment. Ultimately, the biggest thing for me personally, it brings balance. I think at the end of the day, we're all trying to find balance or peace, or a connection that brings peace one way or another. To simply put it all I see is, how should I say, to simply put it, all I see is me being me when I do what I do. In essence, self-mastery wrapped in poetry. I didn't mean to rhyme it. Leading on to a quick mention. Do you know what? I think I'll leave it there. I think I'll leave it there. I'll do that next time. I was gonna go into something else, but I think I'd like to leave it there. That's enough food for thought. As I like to say though, thanks so much for coming down this rabbit hole with me, taking this journey. And you are through to the Mad Poet Podcast. I am your host, Alex Marlowe. And until next time, take care.
Mind over matter, overcompensating, overstatements, crookedness relating, the soul's churn in return, mental overstimulation, one word, riveting, it tells my pilot. Streams that are promised to make seeking less.